Welcome to STEM challenge number 2, which is a challenge all about floating and sinking. And before we get into the challenge, let's figure out a little bit about why certain things float and why certain things sink. So, everything on this planet and in the whole world is made up of particles, molecules, which are microscopic, teeny, the most amazing microscope sees these, is only able to see these. The tiniest little particles, molecules. And depending how these are put together will depend on what type of an object you have. So something where, I'll put in a picture here, like this, the molecules are really close together and there's a lot of them, you would get a hard object, something, hard, they're really dense, so it's tight, they're hard, not, hollow. It's a really packed object, so something hard like this remote control is hard. This worktop, it's really hard, so the molecules in this are really close together and they're really hard to break apart. In other objects, the molecules are a little bit further apart, and so that's why you would get softer objects like fabrics, softer plastics. Water, the molecules in water move a lot more than in this hard worktop. So that's why water, is liquid and can move, okay? And then we have the molecules that are in air, which are really far apart, and that's why air moves so free. So there's air everywhere, okay? So you can go from the really dense molecules, which means they're really tight together, really hard, make something heavy, to water, which has a bit of movement in it. Their molecules move a little bit further apart, and then air, they're a lot more far apart. So that will help us to understand our STEM challenge. And our STEM challenge number 2 is making an object that sinks float. So making an object where the molecules are really tight together and really dense. They're so much tighter together than in water that they go down through the water. The water moves out of the way and they go down. Okay, so we need to do something to make that object float, to make it less dense than the water and let it sit on the top. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is find a ball or a toy, something in your house that you'll be able to put into water that sinks. Okay, that's your first job. So I found a few little pieces, mostly belonging to JJ, that I'm going to need to test first if they sink. So you need to play around a little bit with your materials to see what sinks. You will need a bowl with water and your toys first, okay? So I'm going to try out this kind of just a little block, part of these blocks. It floats. So I can see that the molecules in this type of object are actually less dense than, sorry, something in my water. So the water holds them up. The water is more close together and is able to hold this up. Okay. I have this bath toy that I found, but if it's a bath toy, I kind of should have guessed it won't sink, it floats. I have this toy. It's a really small little cow. Oh, let's see. Oh, it sinks. It sank. So, assuming then that this kind of hard plastic is quite dense, the molecules are really close together, so that's why it went to the bottom of the water. Okay? So, this is going to be my challenge. So you have to find out what your challenge is going to be. I am going to try and make this toy cow float. Now, next thing I'm going to do is gather the materials I need for my challenge and for the next step. So I kind of went around and found materials I thought I would need that would help something to float. So bubble wrap has bubbles of air, and as I said, air is less dense, and the molecules are more far apart, so usually anything with air in it is very, very light and will float. I find some corks, because usually they're used to make, floats, and I thought I could make a raft for my little cow. And cork as well, whatever it's made out of, again, less dense, the molecules are further apart and usually float. I thought I could make a little boat out of something, I could make a little tinfoil boat. And the reason this could work, if you have something flat on top of water, it spreads out the weight a little bit, okay? So I could do that. So I'm gathering my materials. I might need some sellotape, some string, and a few bits like that. So you need to get your materials ready. Off you go. So as I said, my plan, next step, is to try out the different ways that I think I can get my cow. I can make little armbands for my little cow. Oh, I could make a little kind of a raft for my cow. I'm going to try that, and then I'm going to try a boat. So that's my plan. I'm going to do that now. So that's up next. Okay, I'm going to try my little boat that I made from the tin foil. You could use whatever you have at home. I thought tin foil might work. It's kind of light, so I'm going to put that in my bowl. Can you see? It floats. It's kind of letting in a little bit of water. So let's try and see if that is going to be a good option. Oh, yeah, it works. The cow goes in. Can you see? It's floating. It's kind of letting in a bit of water, and when the water goes on top, it's gonna sink. So it worked. I'm gonna try something different. Okay, I'm gonna try one cork first. See if one cork will float my. I just need a little bit more sellotape. Next, to make sure it's fully attached. I've already run into a problem here. Sellotape and corks don't seem to work so well, so I'm going to try some string. Okay, one cork, one cow. Now put it to its side, and I'm not sure if putting it on top or where to put the cork would see. So let's see what happens. Ready? Oh, the cork is floating, but the cow has gone under the water. That's not so good. So I think I might need 2 corks. Okay, tied it like this, but the corks are above the cow. I'm not sure. Okay, will the corks float on top, and then the cow is still going to be underneath the water? Poor cow. Let's see. Oh, it's floating, but the cow is underneath. So maybe I need to put the corks under the cow somehow. Okay, I'm going to try something different. I could do it. You can give it a try if you, keep going. But I'm going to try something different because that's just not working for me. Okay, so I've wrapped my little cow in some bubble wrap. I've made sure to go all around. And I want to see, will it float? Okay, I tied with string because sellotape in the water, not working for me. So, let's see. It's floating. It is floating. My cow is still under the water, but maybe by changing it around a bit, putting a little bit more bubble wrap under on the bottom part, just like the corks, I could make it float. But still, the corks worked and the bubble wrap worked. I think the corks might actually have been a bit better if I put them underneath. So I'm just going to try that. Okay, so what I eventually ended up doing was, the corks were really hard. I got 4 corks. They were really hard to tie together. They kept rolling off. So I just thought that maybe if I wrapped them in the tin foil, tin foil kind of is a handy way of keeping things together. It makes a really nice raft. And then my cow can, I hope, sit on top. Oh, no, okay. Yeah, it's too narrow, so now I need to maybe take it out and just rearrange it to make it wider so my cow can fit on it. Now I've ended up with more of a square-shaped raft. Fingers crossed. Okay, the raft floats. Now can I get my cow to sit on the raft? Yay! I did it! Okay, so this was my final design. Okay, I draw it out. And what have I learned? I have learned from my stem today, so I was able to fill in what worked for me, and the corks together were the best, and wrapping them in something not string that worked. What didn't work, string didn't work, bubble wrap would have worked, but I just preferred the cork for making a raft. Wrapping the thing wasn't exactly perfect for me, and so this is my final way of getting him to float on a wider raft. And I learned that I needed more surface area. One of my rafts was too narrow, and so I needed to space out my surface area so that I had more area on the water, and that the molecules were kind of spread out a bit more, and gave enough room for the weight of this to be spread out, and so he didn't fall off the edge or he didn't go down. So there was lots of room. He sat on there and he was able to float. So that's what worked for me. So up to you now. What can you come up with? Best way to do it is just have a good play and explore and experiment. See what kind of way you can make a sinking object float.